It's all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and how the hell are ya? It's the Reverend the Dragon, Dan Wilson, 'cause I get your motor revving and you be dragging ass to keep up with me. And ladies and gentlemen, my tag team partner, the Cut Slayer himself, the Southeastern Strangler, and the Commissioner Matchmaker of Empire Wrestling, the one and only Andrew Alexander.
I can top that, man, because I'm not lying. I had to share this with you. Today was a first. I mean, I may have created history. If any of our listeners has ever had this happen, I want them to let me know. But I farted so hard on the toilet that the wind, the force of the blast, splashed the water out of the toilet on my leg. I'm not lying. You can't make this shit up.
A mighty powerful gale.
It was insane. I mean, it proves that I was indeed extremely full of hot air, but I was like, what the fuck? And I knew that there was only one thing that could have happened. And I mean, I just felt that needed sharing.
It was almost a Terry Funk moment. I dream.
It was a funker of a moment.
Holy shit. Well, tonight we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We don't have like a really tight format on the show, but we need to get some content out to you. I've been busy this week just doing other shit, but we're not going to let you down. We're here for you. And there's plenty to talk about on the docket here as far as wrestling news. So, won't have any trouble covering that. And it's been an interesting week for me. I had a nice weekend. I finally went and saw Ant-Man. I told you that, I think. Spent a nice day on the lake. Yeah, I loved it. I really thought it was a lot of fun. It was a little weird, in a good way, like in the way I love, but the way I also see why it didn't make a whole lot of money compared to some of the other movies. Because, it was kind of a string.
Like the first time a chick sticks a pinky in your ass. Like, it's weird.
Exactly.
But you get it.
Exactly. You're not complaining when in the heat of the moment.
No. You're nervous, but you're excited for the outcome nonetheless. I mean, that's what it did for me. I don't know how people felt about Ant-Man, but that's what I would equate it to. But, yeah, a good movie. Muji, who the listeners may know from Get Your Pulls, that motherfucker still hasn't seen Ant-Man. He should be kicked off of that podcast.
Yeah, and we're recording tomorrow night as we record this, so I'm glad you told me that.
Shit up.
I'm going to take him to task.
I mean, I don't care how excited you. I mean, we're comic book dudes, and I mean, it's not like those comic book movies come out every week, and you got to pick and choose. Go fucking see Ant-Man.
Yeah, and like now he's going to have trouble because Fantastic Four comes out this week, and so now he's got to pick. Yeah.
And this isn't some B-rate bullshit comic movie. This is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
With a huge post-credit scene to tie it all into that, by the way.
Two huge post-credit scenes. I think they're both considered huge.
Yeah, but I think the first one, within the context of the movie, without giving like major spoilers, you kind of saw that one coming. But
no, I think we should give spoilers. No, I think we should give spoilers because if you're interested in Ant-Man and you still haven't seen it, you don't deserve for it not to be spoiled. What are you waiting for?
Fair enough.
Yeah, fuck that. Waft. yeah, the chick, she gets a Wasp outfit, and I think that's cool because Wasp is important. And then let's talk about the other one. It's bigger. I mean, it is bigger, but the Wasp thing was kind of cool.
Yeah, well, the other one was the huge Avengers tie-in with Iron Man, Captain America, and the Winter Soldier, which I was so fucking happy to see back. But he looked like he had gotten himself in quite the predicament. So nice lead into Civil War to find out what's going to happen there.
Yeah, tying Ant-Man into it, Falcon's with Cap when they find him, or I guess maybe Falcon finds him and brings Cap along, and he looks like he's kind of a prisoner of some sort, and Falcon suggests that he knows a guy because he, of course, meets Ant-Man in the movie, and they could use someone of his stature, literally.
That's right. It was Falcon. I'm sorry. I think I said Iron Man,
yeah.
but no.
Well, they
right,
mentioned Tony. They mentioned bringing Tony Stark in, and Cap kind of says, I can't remember because I saw it opening night because I'm not a fucking chump, but they kind of mention, bringing Tony Stark in on it, and Cap just kind of says something about, no, let's not do that, kind of planting that seed for the Civil War because, Tony has a certain way of doing things that pretty much always goes against Cap's way, and you got Bucky there, and Cap wants to keep it close to him, so they're going to branch out and call the Ant-Man, and who knows what's set up. And, so I don't want to get too pumped towards that because, like you said, we got Fantastic Four, and I'm going to go see it. I'm actually going to go get to see it tomorrow.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, opening night. I thought I was going to have to wait till Friday, but pulled some strings. And then I believe the Deadpool trailer is going to be before it, which I have seen. And it's a good trailer, but, it's always exciting to see it on the big screen, and I guess that's the next stop. As far as comics goes, I mean, we can start building the anticipation for Star Wars, which is going to be epic.
Well, you'd probably see that second trailer in the theater, which was fucking awesome. They played it before Ant-Man, and, it really is like you thought it was awesome when you watched it on YouTube on your phone, but when you see it in the fucking theater, it's like chill-inducing.
Yeah, and it's just really cool because, you got all the characters that you're familiar with. They're coming back. When the first prequels came out, the excitement was there, especially, I think, for Episode 3 because you knew kind of the transformation of Darth Vader was coming, but it wasn't the same, especially that first one, which was geared towards a kind of a different audience, I think. Not that it's, I mean, yeah, okay, I think it's bad. I was going to say it's not bad, but I do think it was bad. It's my least favorite of the 6 so far, but
yeah, I think
definitely excited about that. I only saw one review for Fantastic Four, and it was just a line that said, "It's not a disaster."
Well, that's good. I think people were expecting that.
Yeah, and I mean, it has that feel, and I get excited about it. I look forward to it, but this one doesn't have. It's very, very curious. Not excited, very curious. See what's going on. See how they do with Dr. Doom, who's one of my favorites. Who's, I believe, as Jeff G. Bailey, our good friend, called him a Mount Rushmore comic book villain. I agree with that statement. And
he's the greatest Marvel villain, and they don't have access to him in the Marvel universe, and they've not done him right yet on a fucking movie, and it pisses me off.
Yeah. I was thinking today, I think they shouldn't have maybe not lead with him. Maybe do a Fantastic Four movie and maybe try something with Mole Man or, something different and build to, kind of like they're building to Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet, build to Doom as the kind of main event. But I also understand you want to get the big dogs out there, and he's leaps and bounds the biggest Fantastic Four villain, with Galactus being a close second, but Dr. Doom is the guy. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're going to see. The chick playing Sue Storm's really hot. I think they're all too young, and the whole forcing the affirmative action Human Torch is it has that feel of forced. They do that a lot nowadays, which is okay, but it never feels like totally forced. Where this one's like, let's put a black guy in the role. We've got to, and let's say they're adopted, and let's say all this stuff, and it's just like Jesus Christ.
You have to add a lot of extra explanation. I think Michael B. Jordan's a fucking great actor. I think he's a great choice. I mean, even as a Black Johnny Storm, I think it's fine. Like, I would have been probably, I think it would have made more sense if you'd have just went ahead and made Sue black too. And that's not any type of racial thing to me. That's just like as a story mechanism. It's the one less thing you have to explain. Like, what's wrong with that? Like why does Sue have to be a pretty white girl? Why can't she also be black? Like that, I would be totally fine with that. And I don't hate the casting. Like it's kind of obvious. Like I said, I like Michael B. Jordan so much. I think he's going to overshadow the kind of silly forcedness, as you mentioned, of it.
Yeah, and not that the whole scenario of, okay, this black father adopted a white girl. That's not.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's not crazy. It just all seems just a little forced to do it just to be different, just to take the story a different direction. But hey, they've done it. They've made it. We're all going to pay to see it. So let's just try to, enjoy it for what it is and not hold it up to, certain standards. But I think it'll be good. Hopefully,
yeah, I'm very interested in that one.
It can't be worse than that second Spider-Man they did a couple years ago, right? Because, whew.
No, that was bad.
That was rough.
that was real bad. So, on to the wrestle news. Several tidbits. Nothing really coming from the big leagues this week. Everybody's still pretty much mourning the loss of Roddy Piper, and still fresh on everybody's mind. And we pay tribute. If you missed the episode last week, go check it out in the archive. It is now up. And it's there. Both you can subscribe, of course, on iTunes or Stitcher at Potty Humor, one word. And you can also get it on YouTube at youtube.com/pottyhumor. And you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/pottyhumor. So, wrestle news, a few items coming in off the independent circuit this weekend.
Hey, before you get to that, let me say two things about the Piper situation real quick. Number one, I think Hogan owes him a great debt of gratitude because he really came in and saved the day and kind of, at least as far as the wrestling world's considered, kind of took the heat off him, right?
Yeah,
like that
absolutely.
Kind of a backseat. But the biggest thing was, you say what you want about the WWE, their hits and misses, but their production team is just always on point. And I thought that Piper video at the beginning of Raw, and I'm sure they played it on SmackDown. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure they do. But that video was just awesome, top notch.
Yeah.
They always do great stuff with that stuff, and I really enjoyed that video. It was definitely one to choke you up, but yeah, if people haven't seen that, you got to check that one out. But yeah, let's go on to all the independent news.
Yes. So the first thing I see that a report comes out on Ricky Morton's page on Facebook that him and Robert got stiffed at a show called New South Wrestling in Alabama. So Ricky and Robert also bring this public, and the promotion responds by stating that, they carnied them and that they did pay them, but that they told them a price. And when they went to pay them, they said, no, that was for a piece, not together. And so that they're trying to play Ricky and Robert off as old school carnies. Now, here's my take on the fucking thing. Sure, they know every one of those tricks and then some, but like every time I've done business with Ricky and Robert personally, they have been nothing but fucking professionals and class acts, and usually came at a discount because Woody or somebody hooked it up who, was able to pull some strings with them and, help there. And they always drew, and they always paid for themselves, and then some. They always made sure that we made money because every time we brought them in, we made money. And then another item I saw, the dude that runs NWA Smoky Mountain, he worked some Wild Side Fridays way back in the day. Tony Givens, he, has done a pretty good job with that NWA Smoky Mountain. They've been in business for a few years and do some pretty good houses up there in the Kingsport, tri-state area. He's got another page that's kind of taken off within the wrestling industry called You Are Not Getting Booked. And it's just, basically a shitbird shoot fest where he talks about why you won't get booked. And he shares a lot of times promo pictures from guys who have tried to get booked with him. Look like dog shit. And he'll just fucking throw it out there. Like, this is why you're not getting booked. And so there's a show in Middle Georgia called GIWA, Georgia Independent Wrestling Alliance. And, like, I don't know the context of this. Like, I mean, it's not outside of the fucking realm of possibility of a lot of guys to do, you know, a one-night tribute to a tag team or something. Like, it's kind of dumb and markish, but, you know. But apparently, by at least by the implications, a picture was shared of this tag team, and I don't remember their fucking names. Go to You Are Not Getting Booked, and you'll see it. The fuckers, they dressed like the Road Warriors, like exact face paint and spikes, and like, but they didn't, you know, one of them had a mohawk, and the other one just had like a fucking buzz cut, like he didn't have the balls to go double fucking inverted mohawk.
LOD 2000?
Yeah, it was more of a rip-off of LOD 2000. They had like some shitty cardboard spikes. So, you know, this is just this like indie worker fucking Facebook page. And you know, I mean, it's got a pretty good following, but, you know, you don't think anything like this is going to happen. And people are talking like, oh, shit, man, fuck these guys. Man, these guys are fucking bitches, blah, 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 blah. And then fucking Animal comments.
Oh, shit, for real?
Yeah, fucking Animal himself. Like, and you check his face, his legit Facebook page. It was him. You know, it posts 4 or 5 just fucking tirades on these guys. And like, you know, he's gonna take legal action, or he might just fucking come down and show up at their show. Okay.
So let me ask you real quick. So Animal, who's a huge name in professional wrestling, he sees that someone is basically ripping him off, you know, to a T, and he doesn't go to their show and kiss their ass for a payday?
Exactly, he does not.
Oh, so you know what that means, kids? He saved his money, unlike some professional wrestlers.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother episode of the Black Mass.
It's not often that some shit like that goes around and there's a lot of people commenting, and now it's just crazy in the world of social media how fast something can spread. You know, and like especially in the wrestling business to boot, because you know the old telephone, telegraph, telewrestler theories of, you know, if you fucking tell one of the boys something, it's gonna get out somewhere. And so
exact face paint and everything.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Wow. I don't get that. Like, why? Okay. For starters, well, how are you sitting around? Okay, if you're like a backyard kid, or I mean, you're going to a convention or something, and you want to dress up, that's so cool. Like, more power to you. You know, we see those guys at Dragon Con every year that dresses like 4 or 5 different wrestlers, and they just change clothes. You know who I'm talking about? I mean, I don't know them personally, but I see them. Yeah, those guys are awesome. They're always dressed like wrestlers, and they got cool outfits. But you're an independent wrestler. You've been trained. You get in the ring. People pay to see you, and you sit there and think, you know what I should do? I should rip someone off to a T. Not be influenced. Not borrow a spot. Not pay homage. Just completely rip them off. And not only do they think that idea is fine, no one around them says, hey, man, what the fuck are you doing? Like, if I would have known that that's a thing, that that's acceptable, I would have went back in time and I would have just got me a badass leather jacket and some pink shades, and I would have been the new Hitman. And I would have got the rub from Brett, and I would have been signed by now. Oh, shit, the new Hitman. This shithead from fucking Georgia. Like, what's wrong with people?
Yeah, they're fucking stupid, man. I don't understand like what the fucking malfunction is. Like, get your own shit, you know. Like, it's not like everybody's gimmick is a tribute to somebody. You know, you've got several influences, but you know, if you just rip one fucking person off, you're not doing anything. You're just fucking jacking off. Like,
maybe they just wanted to feel the rush.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Why didn't one of them dress like Heidenreich? He's the real member of the Road Warriors people want to see.
Where was Droz?
Oh, too soon.
What the fuck? Like I said this on the live Midnight Black Mass when you made me interview Rush, who was a dick again. Thanks. Like, when the fuck did I become the straight man on this show? Like, Jesus Christ. This is how the dynamic has changed.
Hey, I understand. I was like, I'm the straight man at Empire, too. Everybody else is running around goofing off. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people. I got to maintain some order, some sort, semblance of law and order, feel like the fucking big boss man in there. I'm talking about 1990s big boss man, not 98 and all that black.
You're talking about serving hard time.
It's a fucking hard time.
Taking a trip down to Cobb County, Georgia.
Damn right. Fucking nails gonna come out of the damn crowd and whip my ass, dude. I thought about that last week. Don't ask me why and shit. I just did think about it, but that was pretty hardcore for the time frame. I mean, Nails beat the dog shit out of him. You remember that spot?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was brutal.
They did a spread in the old WWF magazine, and it had, Bossman had all these bruises on him and shit, and like, they wouldn't do that shit now probably, and that was 1992. Fucking Doink the Clown was running around and shit.
A little before Doink, but not much.
A little before. He was probably working dark matches.
Probably. So there's been some interesting drama on the old Facebook lately. Our boy, the Strong Style Psycho Tank's been stirring up a hornet's nest. He dropped a big grenade the other night and just walked away. And
in the toilet or on Facebook? Or both?
Well, aren't they one and the same?
Yeah. I'm glad I wasn't drinking something when you said there's been a bit of drama on Facebook, because I would have spit everywhere in shock. This just in, Facebook is a place for drama.
Shocking, I know. But apparently there's an issue with one of the other promotions. Some young man that works there at another local promotion, which we won't name, not to try to call anybody on the carpet, but we'll discuss this issue, in plenty detail, trust me.
Because this will give people an understanding of what goes on in professional wrestling on an independent level, because this isn't an isolated incident. This type of shit is everywhere. Like, this is an everyday thing. And it's funny because we're going to talk about it and act like, oh, man, one day the world will be rid of these injustices. But they won't. What we're about to talk about will never change.
No. No, it won't, as long as there's independent wrestling. It's just one of those things. It's a breeding ground for drama, and in the modern era, when so few people lack such even basic understanding of wrestling and how the business is supposed to be ran and conducted, there's a reason I love Empire, because before that I did not do shows in Chattanooga, other than, of course, when I ran my own show. But I always tried to get out and travel to promotions that were ran professionally. I did not have time for this bullshit. And even at the professionally ran places, there's a fair share of the drama. But fucking on the local level, there's nothing like good old local wrestling drama, because it is just a constant. Given the you can really just get a bucket of popcorn and just sit there and just refresh your computer browser and be entertained for quite a while. So one of these promotions, one of their established young stars came and worked at another show. What many outside the area would see as a step up for him to a more professional environment. Not to diss the other show, but it's just, it is what it is. And
that's
the place
Empire.
where
we can name that one. That's Empire.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So he came to work at Empire, and he did a good job. And apparently, because of this, their booker fired him. And there's some previous drama with that guy anyway. But there's a constant theme. Apparently, that the general consensus among the boys, whether or not this is true, and I kind of think it is based on what I've seen, but, you hate to cast stones without knowing all the story. But it seems like this place was started just as a vanity project for the family member of the people that run it. And
let's fill in one thing though. When you say the guy got fired for working Empire, the booker was like, they were like boys, they were like buddies and shit, like besties or whatever, like that's true, right?
Yes, that apparently this caused a lot of interpersonal drama outside of wrestling, and tore apart some friendships and shit too that I wasn't aware of.
And I don't know if people know this, but I don't tend to try to be politically correct just for the sake of doing it. But before you start talking about this, let me add that, to the best of my knowledge, the kid you're about to talk about, he's a good kid. I've asked him about coming to Empire some, There's no problem with him, and it's not his fault if what you're saying about the show being started so he have a place to... That's not his fault. That's not, on him. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. It puts him in a bad situation. But at some level, he's got to understand if he wants to succeed in wrestling, he needs to listen to people that have been there and done it. Of course. That's a gross misunderstanding to a lot of people that just anybody can get in the wrestling business, we won't train your kid, so we're going to go start a show for him. You get fired from one show and you go start another. It's and then before you know it, there's fucking 6 shows running in a 50-mile radius. And hey, if you can all draw and make money, great. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case. And you get, simple wrestling. In the old days, nowadays, it's Vince McMahon has, said that territorial boundaries don't exist, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. And of course, everybody's going to follow his example. But in the old days, starting a show within 20 miles of somebody was a fucking... There would be bloodshed over that at some level, It was because, and Bull Payne had a wonderful fucking comment on Tank's post. The Tank's just general post about this that stirred up a lot of it was, why is there so much butthurt in wrestling? Butthurt being slang for just, people getting their panties in a bunch, getting fucking pissed off about shit that's fairly trivial. Or, when a veteran tries to give a young guy advice and they get an attitude about it. Things like that. And so Bull Payne, veteran, a legend of the independent scene, been around the world, worked in Japan, worked in Mexico, was trained in the AWA camp, worked Nick Bockwinkel, was part of the Texas Hangman in the AWA, went on to be Rick Gantner in Florida, I think, and then, of course, later just revitalized his career on the independents and became the hot commodity without ever, having a major contract. So he's a guy who's been around 30 years, knows his fucking shit. He has a great breakdown of just because wrestling is such a joke now, because so many fucking assholes have got in it that can fucking, it was so easy to get in when we got in it, and now it's even 20 times easier. So that's how bad it's gotten.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they didn't pay any dues because there's no stakes. They had no stakes. They didn't have to worry about if they were going to be able to eat because they couldn't do a show, or because somebody moved into their territory. They didn't get their asses beat by veterans for a long period of time to really earn the respect of how things are done. There's that. It kind of died away in the mid 2000s. That trend and tradition just kind of disappeared, and there's so few people that are willing to do it. And now in the sensitive world that we live in, people call the fucking cops and shit anyway. Wrestling used to be a tough man sport, and it's really gotten away from that.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Yeah, so anyway, Bull fucking just broke it down. They never had to star for wrestling. There was no stakes involved. They never earned any respect or appreciation for it because it was given to them easily without any sort of fucking challenge. And, you know, nothing that you get easily is appreciated. That's just a simple tenet of life. And you know, I think that that seems to be the perception of what's going on there. And, of course, like there's just been all sorts of back and forth with like the family members and shit. You know, it's just a fairly ugly scene and shit you really don't want to see in public. But, you know, God damn it, like I do feel at some level somebody's got to fucking be the dick and speak up, because if you just sit there in fucking silence, then, you know, the business goes to fucking shit, even more so than it is. It's like you think it's a losing battle at sometimes, though, you know?
Yeah, I'm a weird dick. Like, I don't you know this. You can count on one hand the number of wrestlers that I follow on Facebook. Like, they're my friends, but I unfollowed almost everyone for reasons like this. Like, when you told me about this, I had no clue what you were talking about. And I like that because it is fun, but it's also very annoying, I just reached this point where if it's a negative point in my life and I can get rid of it, I want to. I don't want to be surrounded by all that. And it's working for me. Like, I think, like, you know, I'm in a decent place in my life. And this is a huge, huge negative thing. You know, so I don't get on Facebook and comment on stuff, and I don't try to stir stuff up. And Tank, he just likes that people buy into the shit, and he just gets his rocks off of that way, which is fine, but that's not me. I don't want to see people, it is funny, but see people freaking out over this stupid stuff. But when it's like, if it's brought to Empire, brought to light there, and like I'm there and someone asks or something like that, that's when I'll speak up and say, yeah, that's some stupid bullshit. And this sounds like a whole lot of stupid bullshit. The whole, yeah. I mean, why would you fire not only your friend, but why would you get rid of anyone just for coming to work another show? Like, how many Empire guys have worked that show and I never said shit about it? Like, more power to you. Yeah, I mean, you probably 15. But the first time, quote unquote, one of their guys come, you know, it's like they stopped using them. And I think there was some sort of drama with this young man brings his family comes to see him and they pay, and they were like still advertising him or something. I think that was part of the issue, was he was still being advertised after getting the boot. Is that correct?
Yeah, that seems to have been one of the major, and that was even like from like a week ago. This thing has just continued, you know, like nonstop and just back and forth. And, you know, a lot of it is just being misunderstood by the other side. A lot of it is just, you know, veteran guys trying to give some help. And if that comes off a little rough, then you might be in the wrong business.
Oh, fuck yeah. And you know, the third party, the other young man is, I guess he's in the middle, or because he's that seems to be the case. Yeah, like, and like, of course, you know, when family gets involved in shit, which is what happens when you have someone who's fucking underage, you know, involved in this shit in the first place in a man's sport. Like, yeah, you know, then of course sides get taken and it becomes ugly, and it shouldn't have become ugly, but and these people seem like good people in all of their aspects, but it just is like, man, you don't know the fucking wrestling business, and you better fucking learn it, or you just got to keep spending money. And hey, more pay if that's your fucking, if that's what you want to do, and you want to keep blowing, you know, burning your money up and just doing it on this one show to get your family member over, then that's fucking fine. Like, that's none of my business, to be quite frank with you. But just the fact that, like, there's shit about it that hurts the business overall, in my opinion. Like, I've heard that there's an edict there that, and you know, again, another puts a good kid in a bad spot, that he can't lose.
the family member of the owners, and
wow.
that's, like, you're really fucking setting that guy up for failure. Let me tell you a story about a guy named George Goulas. He was the son of legendary Chattanooga promoter Nick Goulas. The Chattanooga territory, back to the late 50s, I believe, if not early 60s, was a hotbed of professional wrestling. All of the top stars of the world came to Chattanooga as part of the Nashville circuit, which was also owned by Nick Goulas and Roy Lee Welch at different times. And, of course, later there was a split with Jerry Jarrett, and that's what Memphis wrestling actually became, was when Jerry Jarrett split from them. But so, Chattanooga was a great hotbed of wrestling for so many years. And then when Nick Goulas' son, George, got old enough to wrestle and got trained, he was thrust into the main event. And while many say he's a very nice guy and a good dude, he was the fucking drizzling shits in the ring. He had 2 left feet, and he was fucking awkward and just not believable at all. But despite that, he was thrusted down the throat of everyone. And, by today's standards, he could fucking work. But by then, he was, by the standards of the day, he was and it killed the fucking territory deader than fuck. And there was no more Chattanooga wrestling from, like, 1981 to fucking, whenever. Very, like, Ron West tried some shit in the late 80s that didn't work. I tried some shit that didn't really work. But,
it's still got this huge black eye. This is part of these type of situations are why. These type of things are why, because this stuff gets out. People hear about it. People find out about it. And it's just, it's just bad. It's just bad for everybody. And I didn't know that about the kid can't lose or whatever. And that could be hearsay. That sounds accurate just because I know wrestling, but that could be hearsay. It's a shame that people don't realize that if you're a babyface, you should lose a lot. That will help get you over. No one wants to see Rocky Balboa beat the fuck out of Apollo Creed, as soon as the bell rings. They want to see Rocky Balboa get the shit beat out of him, and then in the end, right before the credits roll, then he beats Apollo Creed. That's something people don't understand. That's 101. That's so basic, but hopefully that's not accurate, but, I don't. Okay, you want to start a wrestling. You want your kid to work, but, if you want him, do you want him to be a star at your show in front of the same people, or do you want him to go out and try to get better and get over at another show? He might become a star somewhere else. I've never understood that mentality, like, oh, I don't want to go to that show because I won't be the champ. Here I'll get to be the champ, and I'll get to be in the main event and shit. People don't realize the best spot to be on a little show where it's not about money is the first damn match. You can get out there when the crowd's hot. You can get out there, do anything you want.
Before a bunch of assholes have killed the fucking crowd deader than Dick.
Yeah, of course. I'd be first every damn night. That's the best spot to be in, but everybody wants to be the main event. But you go out there at the main event, everybody's tired, and they've already seen 10 DDTs. So when you do one, it doesn't matter. But yeah, and this stuff just hurts the business and it hurts the boys. I think one thing, and something, I've got a feeling, I don't know about the situation, but I've got a nagging suspicion that there's other stuff as far as people picking sides and playing favorites, because I know there was some controversy with the booking at the show, and they fired one guy and rehired a guy, or, something was going on. And so now I bet the people are on the guy who was done wrong, which it did sound like he was done wrong, in all honesty. But, that's probably the same people that have talked shit about that guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
coming back around and being like, oh, yeah, they screwed you over, blah, blah, blah. But, the week before, it's like, oh, that guy doesn't know shit. It kind of helps, and it's hard. Like, this is a good example because this guy's buddy did it to him. It kind of helps if you find out that, like,
man, the bad outweighs the good in wrestling, and that's unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it is. So, maybe this kid can take that as a learning experience, but that's not something that really gets better. Good times are kind of few and far between. You got to work a lot, put up a lot of BS to get to those. And the people you meet, you meet some amazing people that kind of they stick around and they're there a long time in your life. But a lot of people try to think that it's everybody in the business. We're all brothers and stuff, and it's I don't know. That's kind of a myth. Once you get out of wrestling, you're probably not going to stay in touch with or be close to as many people as you think. But that's just how it is. At least how I think.
Yeah, I mean, but you also got to look at it like, okay, even if the bad experiences outweigh the good, something keeps you fucking doing this shit and keeps you coming back. So clearly the good experiences are just untouchable. You just got to appreciate them while they're around. And like, I just had a giant Facebook post about this morning, but, it's like if you're fucking... You don't always, and we did a promo about this once, you don't always realize you're living in the good old days when they're happening. Like, someday's going to come when we're all fucking old and shit, and we might not talk to any of these motherfuckers, but I bet we're looking back and saying, damn, I miss those times, and I think back to some of the early times and I do. But no, I totally understand what you're saying, though. It's like he's got to be able to get some thick skin and fucking deal with this shit and just appreciate it as it comes and listen to the people that fucking know what they're talking about. And until he does that, he's not going to help himself at all. But I think I'm done talking about that subject. If you got anything else to add.
No, I'm good. So like you said about the good times, man, the big Scenic City Invitational happened this weekend. Or yesterday, I guess I should say, past a couple of days. So, I did miss night one, but night two was pretty awesome, pretty good to see, good turnout, some great matches and everything. You were there both nights. What'd you think?
Man, it was like one of those really special times. And it was cool because it was Empire sponsored. It was Empire Wrestling presents the Scenic City Invitational. But I would compare it more to like the Super 8 up at ECWA or the Shane Shamrock Memorial Cup for MCW, or even back to the old early 2000s. If anybody remembers the King of the Indies at APW in California. These are promotions that ran regular story-driven shows. But these tournaments were, like an invitational one-night deal that kind of just brought a bunch of talent in from over different places. And, storylines, angles, whatever, were suspended during this time. And it's just, just mano-a-mano competition one night, or in this case 2 nights, for, to see who's the best. It's kind of like an extreme throwback and also like an attention-garnering mechanism. And it did just that. Scott Hensley and some of the other folks that were involved there just did an amazing job promoting that thing. And the turnouts were great, as you had mentioned. The guys did not phone it in. We saw some damn Match of the Year candidates on both nights. For the people that love that stuff, just straight wrestling with no emotional attachment other than what happens in the ring, which, is still an art form in and of itself, don't get me wrong. But in terms of, overlying telling stories and payoffs and things like that, that's more what you and I prefer in terms of the style of wrestling. But, they were really trying to reach out to some of that audience that's been elusive for Southern wrestling for many years, and that's that internet audience that supports, the up-and-comers, and that at one point didn't have much weight on what the mainstream, as far as WWE and their office thought, and now seems to kind of have a little bit of weight there. So it's, it's nice to get a little bit of appreciation from a group that's kind of shunned the whole region, and to see Empire being the one to break out and do that. That's got to feel good for you, because that was coming even before this tournament, but it was kind of like an apex to the whole thing.
Yeah, because that is like you said, it's kind of a niche that it's not as popular in the South, in the Southeast. There's definitely a ton of fans for it, but it's really not a style that you tend to see down here. But there are tons of those fans that like that, and hopefully they all got a chance to come out, and I'm sure they were satisfied, because I thought it was amazing, and I thought it was a great mix, because I think you could have not really been a fan of that particular style and still really enjoyed it, because it wasn't over the top, it wasn't too far across the line of pro wrestling that they're used to seeing at all. Because like you said, I prefer a different style, a little more old school, a little slower, not so much. I don't want to say not so much action, because I definitely appreciate that, but sometimes guys they kind of go up and do a little too much. But in the second night, I didn't really see a ton of that, to where I was, rolling my eyes, kind of scratching my head, and I really enjoyed it. So, and I'm a pretty tough critic, so I believe the fans really, really got behind it, and there's announced that it's going to be a continuing thing next year. Going to do the tournament again, and this year it was won by Jimmy Rave, who obviously has a ton of credentials behind him, and obviously he was probably a favorite going into it, but he didn't have an easy way to get there. I saw him wrestle Gunnar Miller, who's been wrestling about a year, and this guy took it to him, and Jimmy kind of reached into his back pocket and kind of feigned an injury, and everyone was concerned. The night just kind of stopped, and he's laying there, and because he was legitimately, definitely this wasn't something he had planned, legitimately knocked unconscious the first night with a head kick from Anthony Henry, and so the second night, he's laying there, and it's really, people are really concerned, thinking maybe that was re-aggravated or something similar had happened, and next thing you know, he pops up and nails Gunnar Miller with a shot and rolls him up to advance to the finals, and it was kind of a different mood of what you usually see in these type of situations, where the guys are just trying to prove who's better. And I think Jimmy might have underestimated Gunnar Miller, just because he is a really young talent in the area, and he doesn't have the name recognition that Jimmy Rave does. But he really stepped up and brought his A game, and Jimmy was just kind of at a loss for what to do, how to get over and overcome the strength and just raw power of Miller, and had to use some, I guess some could say, some underhanded tactics. I could definitely see that, but also very, very smart of what he did. And he went on to win in the four-way elimination against former TNA star Gunner, Congo Kong, and Corey Hollis. It was a hell of a match. So these guys, the match I think was probably close to 40 minutes, maybe a little over 40 minutes.
It was right there.
And people that's, man, the physicality and the conditioning to have a match that long, people may not understand, but trust me, I can tell you firsthand, that is tough to do.
Yeah, that was some real, straight up wrestling there. Jimmy had an amazing performance both nights. Like you mentioned, the match with Anthony Henry. I'm not a guy to give out star ratings for a match, but to those that would, I heard a couple of people saying that might be a 5-star, that it was that damn good. And it was really fucking good. And Anthony Henry, I've always had a lot of respect for that guy as a performer, and I know he's good talent, but he really impressed me there too. I didn't know that he could hang like that. So that was a really, really good showing for him and Jimmy. And then, of course, like you mentioned with Gunnar Miller himself had a star-making night, being able to deliver the goods in there with a guy at the level of Jimmy Rave, showing he deserves to hang with that level of talent. And, I think there's probably a rematch between those two down the line at Empire. As the matchmaker, I think you got to think hard about trying to make that one happen, because clearly people wanted to see the resolution to that after Jimmy pulled the big swerve. So you know.
I mean, and Jimmy's competed in the building before, but he's really not an Empire talent that fans are used to seeing. I mean, he's very busy, still traveling the world. But yeah, that's definitely something I have to try to get on the books. If he would be willing to make it happen, you know, he may say, screw this, you know, I've got the trophy, I'm not coming back around here for a while, because, you know, Gunnar Miller's an intense guy. You're standing across the ring from him, and you probably get a little nervous. Don't really want to go too far with him, and now he's kind of pissed him off and aggravated him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy might pull a little bit of the limber tail and say, no, I don't think I need anything to prove.
Yeah, and, you know, I mentioned once about Gunnar Miller being a guy that you don't have to tell anything to twice, you know. Yeah, you tell him once and he's got it, and, like, here he had, on night one, he had what I thought was a career high, like, best match that he's had as far as just a singles match with Chip Day, which he beat him with an amazing, like, Chip was coming off with one of his crazy flippy moves, and Gunnar just speared him right out of the air and pinned him 1, 2, 3, and I think a lot of people might have thought that was a bit of an upset, just because Chip has so much more experience, you know, and is such a respected name in that community that the tournament was really aimed at. So, you know, big win for him there. And then he goes in this match with Jimmy Rave and just delivers the goods tenfold. So, you know, yeah, keep your eye on Gunnar Miller, folks. There's your next future superstar.
Yeah, and you mentioned Anthony Henry and Chip Day, and, you know, we can say a lot about everybody that was in this tournament. But that's two guys, man, that, and Chip I've known a long time, and he was always just a really sound performer, really knows his way around the ring, knows what he's doing, knows when to do it. But God, that guy has even improved leaps and bounds. I mean, think about when you're really good and you're really on the right track, and then a couple years later you fast forward and man, it's just the improvement level is insane. You know, it's a shame that he has not received a lot of the breaks that some people have and that some people in the business do, and that's always been a thing as long as the business has been in existence. How sometimes there's guys that just get overlooked, or they don't get the breaks that people get, and you just don't see them. They're not exposed to a worldwide audience either as quick as they should be, or sometimes ever. And I think that's kind of the case for him, because man, he's phenomenal out there. And Anthony Henry, you know, a guy I kind of met early in his career and actually worked with a little bit at NWA Anarchy, the former NWA Anarchy, and this is a guy who had very specific goals, very specific things that he wanted, a style that he wanted to work, and you know, he's really focused on that. He's become just an incredible performer too. Very hard hitting. I mean, like I said, he knocked Jimmy Rave unconscious the first night. Hard hitting, fast paced. I mean, he's one of the best guys with that style, and he's really making some waves now. He's had some matches with Eddie Edwards, Tommaso Ciampa, you know, just a lot of the more well-known independent talent, and you know, he's been out there going toe-to-toe with them. So that's two guys definitely that, you know, they may not have advanced to the finals of the tournament and won the trophy, but that you can't deny, and you're going to have to keep your eye on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like other standouts, Congo Kong was just incredibly impressive. I mean, I heard a lot about him. He's a really hot property right now, and as well he should be, because you know, he's doing something that is just so unique and it's such a throwback. But you know, what's old is new again. If nobody's doing it, do it, because absolutely, you can make money off of it. You know, and like it's the Cannibal Savage gimmick. You know, kind of a little bit of more bloodthirsty Kamala is kind of how I described it. But he's just an amazing athlete in the ring, and he can do so much, but he's also such a killer. He and Tank had one of the damnedest big men matches I've ever seen. on night one, and I've never seen anybody like compromise Tank to the level that he did. And you know, it was a hell of a fight, but I mean, this guy's like 6'8", like 400 plus pounds, and can move like a fucking jackrabbit. And Tank gave it all he got, but he even superplexed the motherfucker. But I mean, he threw a clothesline at Tank that just completely fucking decimated him, like I've never seen happen. And then got off the top and gave a splash 3/4 across the fucking ring onto him, and you know, there's no getting out of that. And fucking Congo Kong advanced, and you know, then the second night he had a match with Ring of Honor star Moose, and you know, pulled out what somebody considered an upset on him, and then he found himself in the tournament. So, you know, yeah, just a real unique attraction. Like, glad to see something like that back in the business.
Yeah, it's something that's been missing. You know, I kind of thought that watching him and Moose, that he almost wouldn't even have to be that good of a performer to open eyes, because he's taking a chance. And you know, nowadays it's hard to explain. We've reached this level of guys, and there's nothing wrong with just going out there and just being a performer and just being a wrestler and not having any type of character or theatrics or things such as that. But you know, that's something that just no one does nowadays, and that's something that's really missing, I think, because you know, so much of pro wrestling has been built on that. And you know, here's a guy who is doing that. He's a wild savage, and it is different. What's old is new, because there's so much stuff, so many ways and different things that have taken place in wrestling, you know, in the past, that's been forgotten. That guys just weren't doing it all. So you could be a guy to capitalize that and really study a lot of stuff in the past, which we've talked about on here before, and kind of adapt and use some of those things. And not only are guys not using those things, but I think a lot of fans aren't used to seeing it. So they are going to kind of think that you're doing something that's never been done before, when in reality you're doing something that was done 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, but have just been forgotten about. And I think that's something a lot of guys could stand to do, and this is a guy that's doing it, and it's obviously paying off, because you know, he is making a lot of waves right now in wrestling, and just kind of come out of nowhere, it seems, and getting a lot of opportunities. And I mean, plus he's uber talented, obviously, because he went toe to toe with Tank and actually come up victorious. And that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a big accomplishment. I mean, you know, he should have got a little mini trophy just for pulling that off in the first round. So he's someone else that people are going to have to keep their eye on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some other drive-ins. Mark Vandy came up from the Indiana area, and he wrestled Ace Rockwell in the first round and also competed 8-man in the second round. He was a real solid fundamental wrestler. You know, he didn't do anything crazy, but is, you know, kind of more my speed, actually. I enjoyed, you know, just watching him, the little things he did. He was certainly a talented guy, and he, you know, he's kind of one of the big unknowns in the tournament, but I think he turned some heads as well. Let's see. There's so many good matches. Caprice Coleman, great to see him again. Gunner, you know, it's freshly released from TNA. Talking to him, you know, got to spend some time with him after the show, and he's so happy. Like, he's in such a good place right now. You know, he feels like a free man. You know, he appreciated his time with TNA, but, you know, clearly they had different things in mind, just like we were talking about a few weeks ago, as far as, you know, where a guy like that should be on the card, and, you know, them wasting his prime earning years and things like that. So, you know, he's excited. He's got several opportunities on the horizon, and I think you're going to be hearing big things from him. And, of course, he didn't phone it in either. Went out there and delivered the goods, one of the 4 in the finals that went the 40 minutes. So you tell me, you know, is that a guy that's phoning it in because he was a TV superstar? Hell no.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm never I've never known him to do that. Coming up after he was with TNA, he's a guy that's always going to work hard, and he wants to build a reputation. And this is a guy. I've said it for years now. I mean, the WWE absolutely has to sign this guy and at least give him a shot, see what they can come up with, see what they can do, and see how he can get over and connect with the fans. And I mean, this is just a guy that he could be. He could be this generation's Batista, and Batista I think became a really solid performer overall. I mean, especially when he was working with some really great talent. But I don't know if he had the in-ring ability that Gunner does.
Not even close.
Yeah, we don't know that Gunner has that star power that Batista does, especially. I mean, we've seen how he's made some big waves in Hollywood, and I thought was amazing in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But I'm not
trying to slight him. Like, he had his strengths, but the bell to bell wasn't one of them. And Gunner's got that ahead of him.
Yeah, and he has this look and this presence. It's very similar, and I think he can come in and kind of fill that void. And he's got the star power too in it. But and he's a guy that he doesn't have the interest to do a lot of the outside things in wrestling, like movies and things such as that. He just wants to compete and be the best professional wrestler. So I think they would really be dropping the ball if they don't include him in their NXT product. They probably have 100 guys on developmental contract, and for one of them not to be Gunner is a travesty at this point. So hopefully something maybe within the next year or so, as that brand continues to expand, maybe they'll. He has to be on the radar. There's no way that I can believe that they're not aware of this free agent. So, hopefully we'll see him popping up and making some big waves on the national level, because I definitely think he can.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll be hopefully seeing Phil Shatner debut in NXT.
Yeah. maybe have a full name for a change.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but then he'd get called up to the main roster and he'd lose it again. They'd call him by one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the former Phil Shatter, I mean, I think that's the way to go, especially when you just have that kind of Goldberg thing where it's just Shatter. It's a name, I think right there you have something. It's, here's this guy, Shatter, and I don't know. They like to be able to copyright their stuff, and rightfully so. And I'm sure because he had to reinvent himself and in TNA and with the new name and everything, I'm sure he would be willing to sign those rights away, because I think this guy, he gets a chance, he's going to hit home runs. He's going to deliver and produce. All he needs is that opportunity, and and a lot of guys have come along like that. If they had the opportunity, they could probably really deliver. But this is a guy that we have to see at least get that chance. If he doesn't make it, if he doesn't quite rise to the main event of WrestleMania, so be it. But I really think he can, and they've just got to give him a look and get him out there and let the fans see him, and let the fans see him in a different light than if they were able to in TNA maybe, and let him just go a little bit harder. And this isn't a guy that he definitely had some strong outings in TNA. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and do a bunch of moonsaults and crazy things like that. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to do that to gain the attention. But just let him go out there and work hard and hit hard and show what he can do, and I think people would instantly gravitate towards him.
Yeah, like you look at a guy like Baron Corbin in NXT, and, not to crap on that guy, but you could put him in a similar gimmick and he can actually back it up in the ring. That would be awesome to see.
That's a great example. I mean, because he has that look of somebody, okay, this guy's going to go 3-4 minutes tops and kill somebody, and that's how he's going to get over. But like you said, he wrestled twice last night. He had a 15-minute match with Ace Rockwell to advance to the finals. That was a really, really good match, hard-hitting as well. And then he goes out and, he was eliminated second out of the 4 men in the finals. But that was well after the 30-minute mark of going nonstop, balls to the wall. This is a guy that can go an hour, no problem. So, and that's something you don't see with someone of his size and look and stature a whole lot. And he can definitely do it. So, I mean, the matches, the young talent they have, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Bray Wyatt, so these type of guys against him, I think would be really money matches. Then you've got your John Cena's. I think they could have an amazing match. Even a Brock Lesnar, if he could get to that level. Kevin Owens. There's just so many people that I just know he could go out there and hit home runs and just have badass matches bell to bell. So, hopefully it happens. Hopefully, and we can we'll not take credit, but we'll be able to say, hey, we've been telling you people for years, and years on the internet and whatnot, and months on the podcast that this is the guy to look out for. So we'll look like the Notre Dame of professional wrestling.
Hell yeah. Which it's not like we haven't already, or the show, like I haven't on the show for years and years and years. I have a uncanny ability to kind of pick how things are going to go, or, kind of at least the near future of wrestling. I tend to have a pretty good eye for that. I've certainly had some misses over the years, but, I've been right more often than not, and I just got that feeling about Chatter, I really do. But Scenic City Invitational was an amazing 2 nights. Drew a lot of attention to Empire Wrestling. Hopefully, moving forward, already seems to be a lot of advancements in the product that they're looking to make in terms of, on the back end. And, of course, we've got going to the weekly schedule now here for the fall.
Yeah, real soon. We'll be back this Saturday, the 15th, take a week off, and then be back on the 29th, and then we're going to take a Labor Day off, and then that fall schedule on September 12th, going back to every Saturday night, and that gets really interesting. You're working more shows, and, hopefully we try to bring in some new talent and give guys a chance to see what they can do. And it's always good to have fresh faces. It's good for the fans. It's good for opponents of the wrestlers. And so that's always great. I definitely keep my eye out and try to look for new guys in the Southeast that we can bring in and hopefully expose a little bit. So that's always good. I always enjoy the every week schedule. It's a little more hectic, and it's tough when you're running the same area and running weekly. But the fan and fall and winter always do better for pro wrestling because during the summer people no matter what you present, they don't want to come to a hot building and watch wrestling every weekend. They want to get out and do other things. The weather's nice, and spend time with family and stuff like that. And that's just how it's kind of always been in wrestling, and rightfully so. Nothing wrong with that at all. But fall and winter do better and do well, and always an exciting time to be in the business, and that's why we kind of go back to every week at that point. And the fans just stick with us a lot and come in every week. And I've got some great ideas as far as some matches, and like I said earlier, some new faces. And we've already touched on maybe trying to get Jimmy Rave to come up a little bit more. Just there's going to be a score that needs to be settled with Gunnar Miller, and I definitely reached out and spoke to the other Gunnar, as I guess we can call him in the Empire ranks, about trying to come in and make some appearances, because he's, like I said, he's a guy that's going to work hard, and no matter who he's in the ring with, and I think he can push a lot of the up-and-coming talent. Like we saw this week, we saw guys like Chip Day, Corey Hollis, Ryan Vega, and the team of Livewire Entertainment appeared in the 8-man tag, and Tank, and, a lot of KT Hamill, a lot of the up-and-coming Empire talent. Yeah, a lot of those guys kind of pushed with working some of this new, more experienced talent, and that's what I would like to see, and that's something that a Jimmy Rave and a Gunner can bring to the table, and really go out there and see who's got it, and see what guys are made of, and see who doesn't have it so much, and kind of find out where we're going in the future with stuff. So definitely exciting stuff coming up there. Very much looking forward to it. So everybody needs to come out this Saturday the 15th, and we're moving forward. We've got a mega event coming up in November, Chasing the Grail, and we haven't really mentioned it a whole lot because we were focused on the Scenic City Invitational, and it was presented by Empire, but it was an outside entity other than Empire, but definitely going with the 3rd annual Chasing the Grail tournament to see who can face, hopefully, champion Logan Alley. That's not set in stone because have announced finally one-on-one for September 12th, Logan Alvey defending the title against Gunnar Miller. The first time these guys meet one-on-one, trying to see who's the better man and see who's going to walk out champion. But whoever it may be, at Chasing the Grail, they're going to defend the title against the winner of that tournament. So that's going to be happening in the upcoming months. So a lot of big things. Really excited about it. Wrestling business is in a good place right now, independent-wise, national-wise. Had some national news this past weekend, or the past week, with Dana White, who everybody knows is the man behind UFC, which is insanely popular and really taken off the past couple of years. Definitely a competition for the WWE and pro wrestling, even though it is a different format, but there's definitely similarities. So a lot of crossover fans, a lot of new fans, maybe fans kind of lean towards that product more than pro wrestling now. But he went on Twitter and had some choice words about pro wrestling being fake, and really ruffled a lot of feathers, and rightfully so, because this is a guy who, he hangs around all the tough guys in UFC, but I've never seen or heard of him doing anything to make him the badass that he kind of tries to come off as sometimes with some of his Twitter exchanges and stuff he says behind the keyboard, but really got to a lot of people, and I think he kind of backtracked a little bit and started trying to take it back, saying how much he respected the wrestlers and things such as that, which I don't know if I buy that. I think he was just trying to cover his mistake. But, you got a lot of fans that buy your product that are wrestling fans, and you've had your biggest draw ever has probably been Brock Lesnar. You have CM Punk coming in. You signed him to compete despite having zero experience in MMA. Ronda Rousey, who's this big draw now, is a huge wrestling fan and appeared at WrestleMania this year, and I would think will be involved in some way in WrestleMania next year, at least hopefully, because, like I said, she's a huge wrestling fan. She dedicated her fight last week to Roddy Piper, who she, asked permission and used his Rowdy nickname. So, this, I think he just made a pretty big mistake, and then kind of making some attacks towards wrestling, calling it fake. And I personally, we've talked about on the show before how I'm just not that guy that gets offended by much at all. But that's definitely something that I find offensive. I think that anybody in the professional wrestling business finds that offensive. Well, I mean, what is your take on it? I'm sure you not being someone that competed in the ring, but I mean, you've seen guys, you've seen the injuries, and you know how it is. Surely that that probably ruffled your feathers as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, first of all, yeah, I've gotten my ass whipped a million times and fucking, like, while I never would ever claim to take a tenth of the bumps that the boys take. You know, most of mine were on concrete. So,
Yeah.
and, you know, I do have, like, a knee that's fucking missing because of an atomic drop gone awry in a cage match. So, yeah, it really pisses me off when motherfuckers get hung up on the fake thing. Like, I kind of understand that Dana White's got this public reputation of being this macho alpha asshole, and, like, that he's got to fucking kind of take that stance when it comes to wrestling because of what he's selling. But, you know, he probably could have worded it a little bit better. Like, I think him and Joe Rogan's attitudes toward wrestling have always been kind of shitty, because it's like that whole thing about it being the people getting hung up on it being fake just gives me the fucking red ass, man. Like, I remember I was at a party, and it was like, I think it was my wife's boss's friends and shit like that, and there was just some dude there, like, he was like somebody's old man or something. He didn't have like any relationship, but I heard him like bitching about wrestling. He was like, "Oh, it's fake. It's so fake. Like don't you know it's fake?" Like, talking to one of the other guys in there who was a wrestling fan. You know, I didn't play my hand because I want to cause a scene at my old lady's work convention thing. You know, but like how fucking stupid are you? Like, really? Like do a Google search. You know, you uninformed fuck. Like, it's 2015. Who the fuck still gets hung up on the fact that wrestling is quote-unquote fake, in terms that it's predetermined? The fucking grit and the grind is very fucking real. You know, my missing knee is very fucking real. The fucking scars on my head are very fucking real. And, like, that was as a manager. Now, imagine guys that do this fucking every night, all year, fucking 20, 30-minute matches in the ring constantly, and what their bodies go through. So, yeah, we take great offense when motherfuckers who don't know shit from apple butter fucking like to fucking walk around like they've got some sort of superior opinion because they pointed out to the poor plebeian that wrestling's fake. The fucking poor plebeian is in on the fucking joke, and you aren't, you stupid fuck. So, do you understand that?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, you're beating this dead horse talking about how wrestling's fake, and all you're going to do is upset people and offend people, either fans of the business, real fans of the business, or people, anyone that's ever taken part in it. Because, I mean, here's the thing. I wrestled for 13 years. I didn't wrestle 300 nights a year like guys in the WWE do. I was a pretty safe wrestler. I definitely had my share of crazy bumps and matches and things that were just kind of insane to think about now. But for the most part, I was a safe competitor. I didn't work overly stiff. I didn't like to work overly stiff. I didn't go out there trying to hurt people. But the fact of the matter is I can't sit for very long without my back becoming borderline sometimes in excruciating pain. Like, I have to readjust constantly. I can wake up some mornings and, you know, my back is just, it's killing me. It hurts to get out of bed sometimes. You know, that's kind of always going to be a thing. When you know, obviously I'm not saying that it's not something I can do, because I can, and there's other ways around it. But when I attempt to do some cardio and I'm lightly jogging on a treadmill and pain shoots up from my hips all the way up to my back to the point where you kind of have to stop walking because of years from being in professional wrestling, that's why it's definitely offensive when someone says it's fake, because the word fake, nothing could be further from the truth. And, you know, that's someone who didn't have 20,000 matches or didn't perform to the level that a lot of guys do now, 300 plus days a year. And that's stuff that I deal with every day. So imagine, you know, your guys that have suffered major injuries, had major surgeries, neck injuries, back injuries, knees,
hip replacements, all of these things. That's why it really gets people worked up, because you're sacrificing your body, you're sacrificing your quality of life to do something you love and to perform for people. And then there's these assholes that, if you said, hey, you want to get in the ring and try this out, most of them could not physically do it, but they want to be the first ones to jump and say how it's fake and things such as that. So it definitely pisses me off. It pisses off everybody. Anybody who's ever taken one single bump can tell you of what it feels like, and that it's definitely not fake. So I think he made a pretty big mistake. But like you said, it's kind of his image that he doesn't care. He'll say whatever he wants to. But that's not an image that I care for anyway. I think that's just kind of shit. I mean, there's a difference of being a guy who will be honest and tell you the truth, and if you ask him, he'll tell you. And then someone who just goes out and constantly wants to start shit and be controversial and things like that. And I've heard that guy is that's his MO, and he's quick to argue and maybe poke fun at, his fans of his product, people that pay his salary, people that have made him a millionaire, and I don't understand that. You don't see the Vince McMahons and the Triple H's, attacking their crowd on social media, or, these guys have all been, how many guys like a Steve Austin or an Undertaker are just big supporters of the UFC product, and then for him to kind of say that, it's a slap in their face too. So it just sucks. It's something to talk about, something topical, but this asshole probably couldn't go out there and compete in one match, let alone hundreds and hundreds of matches a year.
No. And I mean, I prefer the word predetermined. Some people would say like scripted or choreographed, and I mean kind of, but even then you don't really understand what all goes on. Predetermined, I guess, is the best way to put, how wrestling is. As much as I kind of hate that term, sports entertainment, it is a form of entertainment. It is a theatrical presentation, but it's a whole unique art form. And fake is just a fucking really disrespectful way to address it.
Absolutely. And this guy, he's smart though. He's got people talking about him. I mean, we don't like the little sumbitch, and it pissed us off. But here we are. We're ending the show talking about this little bald-headed fuck. So, he knows what he's doing, and if that's the way he wants to conduct himself and conduct business, that's fine. I mean, he's making money, but I just think that I think it's the wrong way to go by not only, you're pissing off and alienating fans of your product and a large amount of people. I just don't, that's not the way that I would conduct myself if I was in that position of being in the public's eye and stuff. But,
Yeah, it's kind of weird because he did it trolling at like a WWE fan who was trolling him on Twitter. So, you kind of understand why he responded in a snarky manner. But it's like the CEO of a company is going to let some fucking assholes comment on Twitter get to him enough that he responds.
Yeah, and this was before his big, huge Ronda Rousey fight. Like, well, you're going to take time of your day to touch on that. You should be just hyping this fight that, obviously people wanted to see. That's where your focus should be. So, again, maybe he's a little cocky, he's a little arrogant, but he just needs to stay focused on what he's doing, because business UFC's not always going to be the top dog. Business works in cycles, so he don't want to get too arrogant.
No, he doesn't. And take a look at Japan and what happened there with the rise and fall of MMA. Could very well happen here. But anyway, we're out of time, folks. Thanks for joining us again this week on the Midnight Black Mass. I'm the Reverend Dan Wilson for Andrew Alexander. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. We're out.
This has been a production of the Potty Humor Network.
Find us online at youtube.com/Potty Humor or subscribe to us weekly and never miss an episode by searching Potty Humor on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you for listening, and good night.